Morning, good morning. Happy Monday morning. This is Be a Voice with Wisconsin Voices on WNOV, 860 AM, 106.5 FM. It's a rainy, well, kind of bleak and dreary. The rain, I think's moved out, but little, nothing like last Monday. Huh, Brian?
Yeah, we had that sun, and now we got that gloom. But you know what? We got a pretty spectacular week. I think the weekend was pretty good for our people too, with all
Mm-hmm.
the activities we had going on. So I know I missed a couple, but I do want to shout out Jasmine Tyler and her team for bringing in Rotimi and Lil Scrappy and the rest of the crew for the votercade they had this weekend, getting out the vote. Even looking at the ear- early voting sites yesterday, this past weekend. Turnout was great. Even after we got off the air on Friday, when it was at 1.2 million, it was at 1.3 by the time I looked at it a couple hours later. So a few hours later. So the early voting has the early voting surge has been one for the record books. I would say. What
Yeah.
have you seen lately, Joe?
Yeah,
What's
same
going on in
thing.
Roland?
Same thing. Lines going around the block from what I heard at Capitol Drive Voting Center yesterday, which is awesome. They had 778 folks come through, and just remember that that's only in like a 4 or 5 hour period there. That's not a whole day. So total for the city, we had almost 70,000 people cast their ballots
Mhm.
early or via absentee. And you mentioned last Friday, which was the largest number within the city for the early voting period, which was 7,785 people cast their vote in the city on Friday. So
Wow.
that is just amazing. We're seeing the surge not only in Milwaukee and Wisconsin, but we're seeing it across the country as well, where early voting is people are just early voting in large numbers.
Yeah, the uptick in the presidential nominees going out, or excuse me, presidential candidates going out on their last minute runs
Mm,
across the country. I've seen a bunch of little spots. You know, we did have both of the presidential candidates in
mhm.
city this past weekend.
Yep.
Friday we had Kamala out there in West Allis at the State Fair Convention Center. I don't know the proper word or the proper title for it. And then I believe Trump was downtown that day, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
Yep.
I kind of skipped out. I kind of skipped out a
Yeah.
going back downtown that day. It was just already chaotic with the road closures
Mm.
and everything. So
I was
I
looking at
avoided.
the map. I was mapping out the routes because I had to go towards through downtown that
Mm.
night, and I was looking. I'm like, wow,
Well, they already have 794 closed off. They had that closed off early this morning for Governor Tim Walz. That's going to be in town later this evening.
oh, so we've had all the heavy hitters here the last
Yeah,
few days.
I we
Yeah.
we've had two former presidents. We've had both presidential candidates and both vice presidential candidates all within the last 2 or 3 weeks. So
Hmm.
Milwaukee's definitely one of those hot spots where that folks are looking for. The candidates are looking to garnish some votes.
I need to see some of that. Need to see some of that the reports about some of the money that's came through the city the
Mm.
last few days. That'd
Just
be
the
cool. This has
advertising
been a little
revenue.
surge.
Just the
Yeah.
advertising revenue alone. I
Yeah.
think anyone that's turned on a TV in the
Hmm.
past couple months understands that there just about every ad is a political ad. So that's money still being dumped into our local
Back
our
to
local
back,
economy.
back to back, big time, big time. So, what you got on the agenda today? What have we uh seen in the local reports, or anything
Y-
that you want to
You
let the
know
people know
there
lately
yeah
today?
there was a poll that come out yesterday, and anyone that's talked to me understands I don't put a lot of stock into polls,
Hmm.
but there are some things that we can pick up out of the data a little bit. There was a poll that come out of Iowa. Let me repeat that, Iowa,
Yeah.
that had Kamala Harris up 3 points over Donald Trump in Iowa.
Hmm.
Um, I think that really shows a shift. This is also the same poll that had Donald Trump up by almost 18 when he was running against Joe Biden.
Okay.
So it's a very credible poll,
Yeah.
very usually pretty accurate. And now what you're seeing here in the final days is they're adding analytics into these polls, and what you're seeing are trends that women were underpolled throughout this whole process. Some certain demographics were underpolled, so now they're starting to add analytics into that, and nauseously optimistic, like many folks say, but it's really looking very well for Vice President Harris.
Yeah. I'm curious to see the ever changing polls and whatever else that is coming out. It looks like
Mhm.
it's some pretty interesting titles and some things being put out there. I haven't seen any polls lately. I know I usually pay attention to whichever one that some of the local colleges, some of the national colleges, or some of the colleges in the country have put out, but I haven't seen anything lately. I'm glad that you've been up on the keeping up with the polls.
Mhm.
Anything else out there that you've seen that we should be sharing with our folks before we get to any of the other interesting topics?
Yeah, it's not over yet. It's not over yet. We still have one more day to go here. Tomorrow is the big day. Tomorrow is election day. If you didn't have a chance to cast your vote early, tomorrow's your last chance. Make sure you get there, get your voice heard, get out and vote. This is the last day to actually cast your ballot in this election. So want to make sure that folks know that this race is not over yet. There's a long way to go, and we want to see everyone's voice heard.
Yeah. Thank you for that. We appreciate that.
Mhm.
So from what it's looking like, we will be having a guest come on since we've had some a lot of people in the community been working overtime times 5 to get out the vote.
Mhm.
So we will have Mr. Martin, I believe it's Mr. Terrell Martin, come in a few to speak about early voting and just getting out the vote. Uh, this week, of course, Wisconsin Voices will have a partner in office, Transformative Justice Coalition. They'll be setting up their quote unquote war room
Mhm.
just to watch for any mishaps or any certain, I guess you would say, uh, what would you call them? Any voter suppression.
Yeah, anything like voter suppression, or if
Yeah.
someone was in line at 8 o'clock
Mhm.
and before 8 o'clock, and they're trying to tell them that they can't vote, that would be a really good example of, hey, no, we
Mhm.
need to call somebody like Transformative Justice Coalition or the 866 Our Vote.
Mhm.
You can call for election protection if you see any issues out there. Those are just some of the avenues that you can take if you run into any problems at the polls.
They will be on site. They will be there to take calls. So please get in contact. And then, if any questions or comments or any type of concerns, of course, research at wisconsinvoices.org would definitely do that.
Hi y'all.
What's going
Hey,
on? How you
hey.
doing? How you doing?
How y'all doing?
Pretty good. How you feeling this morning?
I'm hanging in there. We trying to get a special guest up in here.
Get him in. Get him in.
And sorry I'm late. It's election time. So
Mhm.
everything be going over.
Oh.
And we be trying to do this and do that and moving around. So thank you. This is Tamika with Wisconsin Voices, and we just happy it's election day tomorrow. It is definitely election day. We are trying to do everything we can to get people out to vote. We have a phone banking. That's why I was late. See, we got, I think, what is it? Almost 20 people phone banking today
Mm-hmm.
and making sure people got what they need and get out the vote. But we have a special guest today. Someday him and I we're gonna get our spouses to move down. We're gonna play blues all the way down to Mississippi, and we're gonna move. Now his wife says that she ain't going nowhere.
She going.
But I would like to introduce to you Mr. Terrell Martin. How are you?
Hello, Tamika. How you doing?
Mr. Martin, it's so good to have you here because you are so knowledgeable in so many things that is politics.
Oh,
And
okay.
he likes to be humble, but even when I first started in like this journey in 2012 for myself, Felicia Martin, Martha Love, Terrell Martin, David Bowen, these were the people who kind of guided me into this is what you got to do. Martha Collins or Della Rosa, whichever one. Those are the people who helped me just get to where I needed to be. And I still call you, don't I?
Oh,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Mhm.
You
I
called
called.
me yesterday.
Yep. Because we had some information that was out there that and the narrative out there was that Capitol was down by 43% in voting. And when you look at those lines, when you look at all that, it was like impossible. So what do? This is how debunk misinformation. You go to the source. Mr. Terrell, could you tell them what you do?
I'm Terrell Martin. I'm the chair of the City of Milwaukee Election Commission.
Oh, so when I called you, I went to the source, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm just telling you, this is not something that we went online and we tried to find. This is the source, the source of sources.
Yes, when you asked me about it, I said, well, let me check into it. And I went down early Sunday morning when
He
I
got
should have
up.
been resting.
He should have been resting.
Went
But see,
down
for
and-
your
and-
people,
and
for
ran
the
the
people,
numbers for the people.
you wanted to
I
make
ran
sure
the
that
numbers.
you had accurate numbers.
Yes.
What,
And
what did you find?
actually, down 40% was correct.
Okay, now 40%. You're like,
40,
oh my
40
goodness.
some percent
It was 40
correct.
from what you told me. It was 45%. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh. But then let's
Let's
put it
into
into perspective and context.
Okay. Actually, you comparing apples to oranges. When you compare Midtown, which was at the shopping center, to the Capitol Drive voting location. At Midtown, it was a bigger space and had an ample amount of parking. You could put through more voters at that location. We moved in 2023 to the Capitol Drive location, which is a smaller location and a smaller parking lot. So what people was doing, there was lines everywhere. I'm telling you, our community came out and voted early. Anybody pushed the narrative that our community did not come out, they lying to you. So don't believe it. But what you see is people was coming to Capitol Drive and they synced the lines, so they went to other locations. Me myself,
Mhm.
last Saturday, I went up to Capitol Drive to vote early. I synced the lines as election commissioner. I'm not standing in that long line either. So I went up to Washington Park to vote. The line was long, but I stood in line and voted. Now, if you look at it, the voting locations around Capitol Drive, you had Sherman Park and Good Hope Library up on Good Hope. Now, the Capitol Drive location technically was down 45%, but the Good Hope Library, as of yesterday, was up 89%.
Hmm.
Okay. You look at Washington Park was up 34%. So take it into context, instead of the people going to Capitol Drive location, they went to alternate locations.
And it's funny because there's a TikToker that she does a lot of things that's all Wisconsin. She usually talks about like the ballot initiatives. She's a good source of really good information. And she did a TikTok yesterday, and she had her whole outfit. And I'll have to find who she is, but she had her whole "I'm going out to vote" outfit. She had her baby girl with her. They had a voting plan. And then she got to the downtown one. It was at Zeiler Building, and the line was out the door and around the corner. And she was like, I'm gonna go to the next spot. So she drove down to Capitol. But guess what? That was even longer lines than the other building. So she said and she made it a point to say this is why you have to have a plan A, B, C for voting day. Because sometimes it doesn't work out exactly how you think it is. She just knew she was going to vote the last day of early voting. That was her plan. Now she has to have she was talking about, now I have another plan that I'm busy most of the day on election day. I got to get up super early to make sure I go vote at 7 a.m. on when the polls open on Tuesday. But see, you have to have a plan.
You have to have a plan to vote. Like up at Capitol's Center yesterday, Sunday, they 778 people voted.
How many?
778.
What were the hours for that? Do you
It's
remember?
like, wasn't it like only 4 or 5
4
hours?
4 hours, yeah.
Yeah.
So they are averaging processing about a little over 100 voters an hour.
Right. That's
So our community was voting.
And that is so, and I want to stop the narrative, and this is why I'm stopping this narrative, because honestly, how many times have we heard when elections are won in a certain way,
Mhm.
they're like, oh my goodness, it's either the women came out to vote or it like Tony Evers' election, black vote came out. And I never really heard anything about Milwaukee came out and supported Evers, and that's why he won. But you will get, if a vote doesn't go the way people think it is, the black vote didn't come out, the minority vote didn't come out, this is the reason why it ended up this way. No, we're gonna try to make sure that our black vote is counted, but also making sure that we are not the scapegoat for anything when it comes to black, brown, BIPOC community.
Now, I was wondering, why was the narrative put out that Capitol Drive was 45% less voters? What was the narrative behind that? Was they saying that Capitol Drive is down, so therefore the African American community was not voting? Was that the narrative?
Actually,
tried
I
to
think
push?
this was a fundraising narrative.
Oh, okay.
I really believe it was.
But that's irresponsible
Exactly.
to do that to this community.
Exactly. And it that's why I asked Mr. Terrell Martin to come in, because it is important. The one thing that I know Michelle talks about, and every other, DJ or commentator on this radio station, we talk about, please look at accurate information. Even if you don't like it, make sure that it's accurate so you can either debunk it or you can say, oh my good, this is facts. So I have to, now how do I change the facts? Do I need to go do more work? Do I need to get out and talk to people? Whatever it is, you have to have factual information. And this is why when I was sitting there and I was that didn't seem right for all the work that's going down. Now, I believe at the time that they were talking about this, Wisconsin, the Milwaukee County was behind the trend of Wisconsin for voting, but it was all still up. How many, do you know how many absentee or in-person ballots and stuff have come in so far?
In-person ballots as of today, including, I'm counting the ballots, the mail-in ballots that they dropped off at the location.
Okay.
Put those with it. 69,246. That's the highest number in the city of Milwaukee ever.
What'd you say again? Is that ever?
Ever in in-person absentee voting.
So I know some people are so tired of us, like our whole shows, all of our shows in the last couple of weeks, we ain't really even had any partners on because we've been really concentrating on why should you go out and vote? This is what we have here. This is what it is. But it seems to be working because people are aware of voting.
Yep.
And we're not telling people who to vote for. I just always tell you to take your 10 the 10 things that is so and most important to you. Look at the candidates, see who marks off the majority of them. You're not going to have anybody. We're not going to have anybody who is 100%, except for me, because when I vote for myself, and because I'm an alder, I'm going to 100% agree with myself all the time.
Well, you should.
But that's what I'm saying. That's the only time.
Well, I don't agree 100% with my wife. And anybody that's married that said that they do.
You don't
know.
say that on the radio,
Well, I'm
Mr.
just telling the
Murray.
truth. We telling truth up in here.
Oh, okay, but
Yeah.
yeah, but
We-
you
we-
got to go
well,
home and go to
Well,
sleep.
hey, but I have to deal with
And
that.
you know
when I
she
get
got them
there.
cats. You know she got them cats. She can sick them cats on you. But this is so important. We're gonna take a quick break and we're gonna come back and talk some more election, about the polling places, what you need to do, all those kind of things that make. Hopefully, we'll have a easy transition. Talk about when the polling place is open, all that kind of stuff to make sure that we know exactly what we need. If your voting plan didn't work on the weekend, now we got to redo your voting plan. We're gonna help you. This is Be a Voice with Wisconsin Voices, 860 AM 106.5 FM. We need to amplify the voice this week. We'll be right back. Oh, hey, wait, whoa, whoa,
You
whoa.
want to keep
Yeah,
she
we
want to
back.
keep
Wait,
Quincy
wait,
Jones
wait.
going.
Do we have a special guest besides the special guest? Wait, can you say hi to the people?
Well, hello to the people.
That's
Michelle Bryan is in the building, y'all.
can we
Michelle
call her
Bryan
the
is in building.
honorary
Yeah.
honorable Michelle Bryan? Michelle, can you grab a mic? Before we gonna talk. No, I'm just saying.
Oh.
Can you tell me what is it going on with Election Central? What time it start and what it ends tomorrow?
So I'm working on the time right now because I just found out that I'm going to have a major interview, but they need me to do it like a half an hour earlier
Okay.
than Election Central was actually scheduled to start. So I'm jumping on this call in 5 minutes, and I'll be able to let you know before your show goes on.
But see, you know what that is?
What's that?
That's dun 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 dun. Gotta tune in tomorrow. But we're
Tomorrow's
gonna
gonna be hype. Like when I tell you tomorrow's gonna be crazy.
we'll be on
man.
from 11 to 12, but you'll be with us too, right? All day or
That's your show.
oh, it's our show. Yes, we will do anything you
know
need
what?
to do. What?
I may need to borrow like
You need to borrow some
the
time.
last 15 minutes of your show.
You know what, Michelle? You have come here. You gave us the highest ratings we ever had when you and Mr. Meach was on.
Meach gave y'all the ratings. Crazy sales. Crazy is very popular.
So
you know what? I didn't realize that was your show time.
Yeah, 11 to 12 is ours on Tuesday.
I'll get back to you. Now
Okay.
I really got to get back to you.
Okay.
All right.
See, now she gonna call. You know, Michelle be looking at her phone and being like, "No, I ain't talking to nobody." We got a caller, and I wanted to bring our caller on before we started talking about the next part. Caller, who's on the phone?
This is Brian Kennedy, the mayor of the city of Glendale.
He is my mayor, y'all. You know, because I'm a bring my mayor on because I love my mayor. Mayor, how are you?
I am doing fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm well. Now we were talking about this, mostly the city of Milwaukee numbers, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Terrell. But Brian, what do you know about the suburban votes and how they're coming out, or specifically North Shore, or anything that you have that you know about the suburbs coming out?
Yeah, well, first of all, let me say how exciting it was listening to Mr. Martin talk about that tremendous increase in turnout at places like Good Hope and some of your other locations, because I did hear the same rumors that you started the show talking about, that, you know, essentially trying to allege that turnout was low in the Black community. And boy, those numbers he presented just absolutely share a very different picture. So exciting to see the tremendous work that's being done in the city of Milwaukee. But similar work being done in the suburban communities as well. As of the end of early voting in Glendale, 57.4% of the entire community has already voted. So we expect to be over 90% by the end of election night in terms of voter turnout. And the fact that essentially, you know, we're going to have maybe 30 to 35% that show up on election day because everybody else has already voted, it makes it so much easier on our poll workers to get those early votes in.
And this is a trend. I know Shorewood usually votes in the same trend. I don't have their numbers, but they usually vote in the same trend. So does, you know, some of Fox Point, Bayside. Some of these are all pretty much the same trend. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, we're all going to be, the entire North Shore is going to turn out somewhere in the neighborhood of like 85 to 88% plus. Glendale will be probably 90 to 92% turnout. Shorewood will be as well. Whitefish Bay, probably the same thing. And so, I mean, the suburbs do turn out to vote. And that's not just, you know, in blue suburbs like the North Shore. That's in red suburbs like out in Waukesha as well.
And that's where we have to keep getting out to vote. This is we want a decisive answer one way or the other. We don't want anybody to question how it is and what is and how the voting is going. Mayor Kennedy, I know that, you know, our poor, I do want to give shout out to my poor little clerk, because some of the areas in Milwaukee, plus especially for Shorewood and Glendale, they had this is their since June.
This is our 6th election this year.
Since June, and it's
And
not like
4th
we
since
have,
June. Yep.
and we don't have a huge election staff. This is our clerks like kind of holding it down. So the parts of Wauwatosa, Shorewood, and Glendale, let's just give shouts out to their clerks because they've been doing beyond the call on an election year. So thank you, you guys. Yay! Clap, 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 clap. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Dr. Mayor Kennedy. I like to call. He gets mad when I call him Dr. Mayor because he is a doctor and then he's a mayor.
Dr. Mayor.
Dr. Mayor. All right, thank you very much. What we're going to do next is we're going to talk about the process of as we vote and how they count and some of the things that happen on election day, Mr. Terrell, so people know what the process is. So if we start hearing misinformation or anything like that, you can say, nope, that's not what it is. That's not how it works. So tell us how this works.
Okay. The polling locations open at 7:00 a.m. Please go out to your polling location and vote. Once you get into your polling location, the only person that could have any contact or talk with you is one of our election workers. You're going to have some observers at the polls. They cannot talk to you. They cannot ask you any questions. They should not even come near you. But they can observe what you're doing, but they cannot ask you who you're voting for, what you're doing. They can't even see your ID. They should not ask for that. So if anyone other than the election workers say anything to you, please report it right away.
And that's to we'll get the numbers to election protection. And I'm giving people time to get their pens, get their paper, so we can give them the number to election protection. And also we'll give you the number to Wisconsin Voices, because we will have a team also working around the clock to try to work with election protection across the state. So go ahead.
Okay. At the polling locations, the polls close at 8:00. Once the polls close, the chief inspector would download the votes, and those results goes right to the Milwaukee County clerk's office.
And that's central count, what they call.
No,
Is
that's
that
not central count.
what is-
Central count is another.
Okay, so explain what that is, because
Okay.
people are talking about central count and then they're talking about the county numbers.
Okay. Central count is where we count the absentee ballots and the mail-in ballots. And we'll be counting over 100,000 ballots that night. One thing about central count, we cannot start opening the ballots to 7:00 on election day. So we're going to run through that. It's going to take long time. Do not expect for results at 8, 9, 10, maybe even midnight. We have 10 tabulars that we'll be working with,
Mhm.
and hopefully we'll get things done. I'm thinking at least by midnight, 1:00. And once we get those results downloaded on a drive, we will be escorted over to the county courthouse,
Escorted by who?
the Milwaukee Police Department.
Okay, so I'm just trying to make sure that people know I'm not escorting them, Brian A. This is official police
escort
escort.
that will escort us over to the courthouse. And then at that time, we would turn the results over to the director of the election commission for Milwaukee County. And then they will upload it to the computer. And that's when you will see those results. So if we get there between midnight and 1, by the time they upload it, might be about 2. So it's going to be a long night. So don't look for any rush results come tomorrow night.
So there, and what happens is there could be numbers out there, but you won't see that check mark.
That final number
That
will not
final
come
number,
in today. And usually the city of Milwaukee is the last one
right?
to bring in their accounts because we have so many.
Right.
And once the city of Milwaukee numbers are completed, you will have a winner.
One thing that I want to, stress when you said the polls close at 8. If
You
you
in
are
line.
in line,
You able to vote.
if that line takes until
To
10 o'clock at night,
you able to vote.
okay. It's not you have to have everything in by 8 o'clock.
No.
It's you have to be in that line.
At 8 o'clock.
And they do have somebody who will go out there to see who the last person is. It'll be a poll worker.
One of the poll workers will give at 8 o'clock, the last person in line, they will give them a tab.
Right.
To know that this is the last person.
This is the last person. And don't let anybody, like, I remember I worked the line in 2020. The actual line in April where we had COVID and we only had, what was it, five
polling locations.
Yeah. And there was some melee where people were like, okay, it's closed, and they were trying to move people out, and we were like, absolutely not. You don't have to move. We can still do this. I'm excited, with the work that we do. I know you tired.
Yeah, well, not yet.
No, I'm just saying, well, we have energy to keep going. We're tired, but we keep moving.
Yes.
There is so many organizations who are out there that are still canvassing, that will be canvassing. Remember, if you need a ride to the polls, call Wisconsin Voices. If no one answers, leave a message, because we will give you, we have an organization that's giving Lyft rides out, free Lyft rides. We have organizations like Souls to the Polls who are driving. We have some drivers who just wanted to volunteer, but they can't find nobody that needs them. So we have a couple of drivers that if you need it and you can't find an organization or they don't have time, call us. We're going to give you all those numbers at the end, because I want to make sure people get their paper, they pen, be ready to write this stuff down. Mr. Terrell, there is, first of all, people ask, how does a person become an election commissioner?
To become an election commissioner, you have to go to your county political party, which is mine, is the Democratic Party. And
so there's 3 of you guys then.
Well, it'll be whoever wants to be an election commissioner have to run.
No, but I'm just saying
it's 3 of us in
right,
the city.
Right.
And 2 Democrats, 1 Republican. And we get that by the governor's vote. Which party has the most governor's vote in the last election?
So what we would do, like when Scott Walker was the governor, we had 2 Republicans
and 1
Democrat. Now that Tony Evers is the
it goes by the vote count.
Well, that's what they would win, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, you could win. A Republican could win the state as a governor, but don't win the city of Milwaukee or Milwaukee.
Oh, it's for the counties.
For the
county.
county.
Okay. It's for the county. Okay.
That. Yeah, it have to be the vote total for the city of Milwaukee for the city and the county for the county.
So, by chance, who was the person? I can't even remember because it was so long ago. Who was the Republican that ran against Tony Evers?
When this last race?
Yeah, this last one. I can't even remember. But if for some reason, and I'm just trying to, so even though Tony won the election, if Milwaukee had come out heavily for the Republican candidate and beat him in votes, then that would be two Republicans and one Democrat.
Correct.
Got it. Well, and that's important to know, because I thought that it was like whoever was the governor, but it's about the vote of that county or that
municipality or the county.
Right. See, this education here. This is what we talking about, education. Go
and
ahead.
Then if 3 people, the top 3 people at the county level who wins, they will send those names over to the mayor's office, and then the mayor will pick 2 out of that 3.
So you go to the Democratic Party, the county party, and that goes by to the county party, and then they vote. If you want to run, you put your hat in there, and I want to do this, I want to be this, and then you have the people who are part of the party.
The party.
You have to be a member of the party to do it. They will vote, and the top 3 candidates will
Names
be sent,
to the mayor's office.
and the mayor gets to decide.
Which 2 he want to pick out of the 3?
Now, what happens if the mayor is if there should be more than 2 like Democrats, but the mayor could be on the Republican side.
He have to pick 2 of those 3.
On those. Okay.
Mhm.
Um,
And he also picks the Republican too. They have the same process.
oh, the same process.
Mhm.
Okay.
And they send the names
No matter
to the
who
mayor.
it is, because the mayor is technically nonpartisan.
Right.
We have a caller. Let's see what the caller has to say. Caller, this is you're on
Yes, ma'am.
Be a
Yeah,
Voice.
I know you're up against the clock here. Very quickly, Tyrone W. speaking. Mr. Tamika, Mr. Chairman, Chairman of
you.
Committee, whatever the title may be.
Mr.
Ryder,
This is Mr. Terrell.
Mr. Terrell. Okay, Chairman, whatever there. Mr. Carvey and Milwaukee. Tyrone W. speaking. Our condolences out to the Jones family in the passing of Mr. Quincy Jones. I'll say that right off the top. So that's a all week conversation there because going all the way back to my dad's albums, Quincy Jones passing sometime between midnight and this morning. All is well. What I'm hearing is just that there's something about certification dates that even all the way up to January 6th, to where we may not have the final analysis of everything with all the certification dates, including January 6th. But I mean, we vote tomorrow on the 5th, but then there's something on the November 11th. There's a certification date. There's December 17th, which is a certification date. So all these certification dates have to come to pass before even you get to January 6th, and then the inauguration. So I'll hang up and listen to you if you want to speak to some of that, and what the waiting process will be, even with all these certification dates in between the inauguration and the time we vote. Thank you very much.
Can you go on to that? Because from what I understand, yes, there are certifications, but we still know who won.
Yeah.
And it just has to.
Yep. On this Friday, coming this Friday, the City of Milwaukee Election Commission will meet and certify the City of Milwaukee's elections. Once we certify, the City of Milwaukee's is certified. The numbers is the numbers. The county would do their certification. We'll send it to the state.
The state will do
The
theirs.
state will do theirs. And then in December, I forgot what date it is, when Kamala Harris wins.
We are nonpartisan.
But I know, I'm just saying, whoever wins, the Wisconsin Election College will vote for that person.
So in December, the Electoral College would vote, and they are those electors. They are bound by the results of
Wisconsin voters.
Okay.
And then once they vote, they will send that to the Congress. And on January the 6th, Congress will certify those elections, and we will have a president.
I'm being very quiet right now because we want to make sure that everybody gets that there has been a process that has been used for hundreds of years. We want to make sure that everybody knows what to look for. We want everybody to be able to feel safe, comfortable when they go out and vote. If you do not feel safe, call the Election Protection Commission. If you feel intimidated in any shape or form, call the Election Protection Commission. There are talk to your poll workers. There are people in your poll workers that have what their protocols to do when it is. Remember, what is nobody can, you can't do any electioneering
within 100 feet of the election.
Now, here's the question that somebody asked me, and I don't know if you can ask this. Is it the door of the election, where the election is? Is it the
Entrance,
entrance of the building?
the building.
Because somebody said that they could do it outside because the gym was over 100 yards. No, it's the building itself. And they're like, can you do it in a parking lot? Well, technically, if it is 100,
Feet away from the door.
right?
And I'll have my yardstick when going out.
Oh, you gonna have a yardstick?
I'll
Okay.
have it because I had to use it last election.
Oh, did you?
Oh yes.
We had a training. Thank you for the people who did the poll observing training. You know, remember some of the, and Joe, can you talk about if anybody can poll observe?
Yes.
But let's talk about some of the rules. We got about, well, let's take a quick break and then we're going to talk about some of the rules that we have to follow. And then we'll give you the numbers for when we come back, also the numbers for election protection, Wisconsin Voices' number, and any other numbers y'all need.
We was looking for was Tim Michaels.
Tim Michaels, that's what it was, because he had the white and red. Yeah.
Building downtown.
All right, thank you. We'll be right back with Be a Voice. Amplify your voice. Go vote. Were closed, and I think the schools are doing teacher in service day, so I don't think the kids will be in the buildings for the most part, at least for the public schools, and the polling places in the public schools. But they're doing it in service, and she is saying praise Jesus. So let's go back to I just 100% blanked off. I knew I had a bunch of stuff we were going to talk about when we got on.
I was going to say, just based on what you just said, I have always been an advocate of making Election Day a national holiday. I think that would solve a lot of the problems with the schools, with people trying to fight to the polls. Make it a holiday. Give everybody the day off. Give kids the day off of school, and
but what about
celebrate
the
voting?
People who got to work it?
Right.
Most of this is a government agency that has to work
That's
it.
true. That's true.
And private entities do not have to.
I know Milwaukee County is a minor holiday, Election Day.
Yeah.
So you can.
So let's get these numbers out. First of all, let's get for the election protection.
Well, I had that up in I had the the poll watcher facts up, but
Go, yeah.
I'll go ahead and give you the election protection number. It is going to be 866 our vote. And the reason that you would use that, if you see anything, you have any questions, if you feel like something just doesn't seem right and is off, these are the people to reach out to. And their number is 866 our vote or 866 687 8683. They also have a Spanish language line that is 888 839 8682.
One more time for both of those, please.
For English, it is 866 our vote. That's 866 687 8683. And for Spanish, it is 888 839 8682.
Lastly, Wisconsin Voices number is 414-226-4289. Again, Wisconsin Voices 414-226-4289. If you didn't hear that, you can go on our website, wisconsinvoices.org. We are going to be in the mix, as Brian always likes to say, we in the mix. Can you tell us a little bit about observing again, so we can...
Just some real quick facts about being a poll observer, a poll watcher. Anyone can do this as long as you notify the chief election inspector that you are there as at the polling place to observe. You follow the directives of the chief election inspector or designee. You provide photo identification, complete and sign an election observer log, and wear an election observer tag or badge if you're asked to. Some of the things you cannot do as an election observer: you cannot engage in electioneering, you cannot use video or still cameras, you cannot handle official election documents, you cannot have conversations about candidates, parties, or ballot questions. You cannot make calls, use your cell phone for voice calls inside the polling area. Texting or other silent usage is acceptable if it's not disruptive. You cannot wear clothes or buttons related to candidates, parties, referenda that intend to influence the election. As you said earlier, interacting with voters except when requested. Is that true? If someone's voting and they come up to an election observer and ask a question, are they allowed to engage them?
You can engage them then.
That's what I thought.
The observer cannot engage the voter.
Gotcha.
So,
But when they do that, they have to go outside. Of the
that's what,
voting location.
Correct. Yep.
Because sometimes it might be an accidental engagement where they're like, "Am I supposed to be in this line?"
Mhm.
An observer probably will say, "Go over there." They're over there. Ask that person. That
Right.
is.
I think that's what we told our observers.
Right.
If someone approaches them, just direct them to the person that's in charge of the polling
Right.
location.
right, and that doesn't have to be. If you really want to vote, you go here. No,
You know,
there's that person in
Yes,
charge.
correct.
And I would ask all observers to know who the person
the
in
chief
charge
inspector.
And they
is.
should know when they go to sign in and they sign the log,
Right.
correct? You
Right.
should know. That's where you should also know.
because that's the first person you're going to talk
That-
to when
exactly.
you walk into the
That's who you should be
location.
checking in with when you show up as an observer. You are also not allowed to view confidential information or poll list, and you're not allowed to enter vehicles during curbside voter registration and votes.
So you might, and this is what so if they're doing curbside, they have to still go in and check in.
The election worker.
Yes,
Yes.
the observer has to still go check in. Now, if they are
Yes.
choosing to observe the curbside, they still have to follow all the rules.
Right.
And I believe what they're saying, because you're outside, but if you're observing, you have to go further away if you're going to have a conversation.
Yes.
Because
Right.
we keep saying that you have to go outside and do it, but
Mhm.
you have to go 100 feet
100
yards
away.
away
Right.
from where that person
Person.
is.
And also as an observer, we're expecting crowds at the polls, and if it's too many observers in the location, the chief inspector has the right to ask observers to leave, but they have to do it equally.
Right.
It's always have to be at least one Republican and one Democrat in the location.
But I wanted to ask, is it just Democrat? What happens if somebody is there for the Green Party? They would be able to stay compared
able
to
to stay.
other Democrats or Republicans. Right. Okay.
Or
Because
it's a non-party.
the majority parties are Democrats and Republicans.
Right.
But if there's a observer or even a nonpartisan,
Right. There
observer.
has to be an equal. So if they only letting 5 people go,
Mm.
it would be a Democrat, a Republican, and 5 of the variations
Yes,
of anybody
yes,
else.
yes,
And and just making sure that it was equal.
correct.
This is fascinating stuff. And I think one of the things that, Michelle does well, but some of us don't do well, is making sure that people know how the process works. Because if you know how the process works and you hear it over and over, so when you hear something else, you're like, wait a minute, that ain't how the
That don't
process
sound
ain't
right.
supposed to be. Let me go check on it, or let me call somebody who will know. All right, tomorrow is election day. What time does the polls open?
7:00 a.m.
7 a.m.
I'll be first in line tomorrow.
We
I'm
will
first
be-
in line.
We are going to, you might be, because there might be some people waiting there at half hour. You
I
gonna
don't know.
try.
I'm getting there early.
We will be, Wisconsin Voices will be, our offices will be open up around 6:30. We're taking calls starting at 7, and we will be open, or somebody will be manning our phones until 8 o'clock that night. Please, please, please be safe. Get out here, exercise your right to vote. Come on, Milwaukee, let's show them that we care about what we're doing. Let's get out and vote. This is Be a Voice with Wisconsin Voices, 860 AM, 106.5 FM. Amplify your voice.
.860 AM, 106.5 FM. WNOV, The Voice.